United States of America, the land of the free, the American dream. The only problem is, I think you've got to be asleep to experience it. America is bad at everything. America continues to be bad at everything. Rat pageant. Nice.
America is the greatest country on earth. The strongest, the richest, the most powerful country on earth. As an American, I'm sure you've heard that roughly 135 times a year. 235 if you go to public school. 335 if you go to a Christian academy. We're told that Americans have the best lives of any people in the world.
The problem is, this is saying that Americans hear this and, but actually from someone from the UK as an outsider to the United States, even we hear it. If we watch anything, any American TV shows, any American sports, you get this pushed in your face, the whole USA, USA. And it's frustrating because it's just pure arrogance when everyone else knows there are so many issues with the United States. And I'm obviously generalizing about how Americans all think that they live in the best place in the world. Look, I'm from the UK and I don't even think I live in the best place in the world. It's great. It's okay. We're very privileged, but it's not the best place in the world, And I said it's the sheer arrogance that you get that comes across.
That we have low taxes, small government, and the highest living standards on earth. And most inaccurately, that we're the freest.
Yeah.
Well, it is partly true. America is the richest country, not just in the world, but in the history of the world. It's really hard to comprehend just how rich we are. We have 18 million people who are millionaires.
Whoa.
American households own about $100 trillion in wealth, an almost unthinkable amount of money. Okay, so America is the richest country ever.
Wow, those figures are insane. 18 million millionaires. Wow, that is ridiculous. And yet there are so many people living in poverty on the streets. And I'm sorry, bearing in mind I'm a centre-left, okay? Not all the way to the left. It's not about everyone being, equally shared in value and whatnot. No, that's not the way it is. But how can you have such a rich country and so many people struggling to survive, people on the street? Madness.
But there's a curious paradox. Most Americans actually have a much worse standard of living than people who live in poorer countries like Germany or Finland or Britain. But how can that be? That shouldn't make any sense. Well, here's the shitty deal. Americans get significantly worse services because our tax dollars don't fund them. So of course our services are worse, and thus we enjoy less happy lives than people who live in the aforementioned countries. Not that difficult a concept to conceive, really. You get what you pay for, said the cartoon dog to the other cartoon dog. And while you might think the reason American tax dollars don't fund as many services is because we pay lower taxes than other countries, that's not even true. When you add federal, state, local, and sales taxes and include other costs and services that our taxes don't cover but other countries' taxes do, like our uniquely high health insurance premiums, you'll find that Americans actually give away more of their wages than most of the developed world. For example, in Canada, for a married worker with 2 kids, all of the previously mentioned costs combined, from taxes to health insurance premiums, make up only 11% of the average wage.
Let's all move to Canada. Be a bit cold though.
In the UK, it's just about 26%. Meanwhile, once you tack on the cost of our outlandish health insurance premiums, you're spending a whopping 43% of your paycheck. That's
Whoa.
more than France, Finland, Sweden, and Norway. In real reality, Americans keep much less of what we own than in other countries. In other countries, their government takes a bit more tax, but then gives that money back to their citizens in the form of healthcare or job support, or a general safety net for all vulnerable citizens, no matter how dusky they are.
See, this is the thing, and this seems to be a comeback from people from the United States. When the issue's brought up about, people having to fear calling an ambulance because of the cost of it in the United States. Well, the Americans will be like, well, your health system isn't free. You pay for it in your taxes. Yeah, but we get as much of it as we want with that percentage, and it's all on how much we earn. It's not having enough to pay for insurance. If you don't earn enough, you don't pay as much tax, but you're still getting the service. And there's always things that can be improved. Our NHS is wasting so much money. So it's not perfect, but at least it's there for everyone.
So what do Americans get for the money we pay in? Well, sure, we get a crumbling infrastructure, shameful homelessness, and millions of hungry, neglected children, but we also get some of the worst services in the developed world. Again, our healthcare. American healthcare is simultaneously the most expensive, the least efficient, and the least effective healthcare system in the developed world. Hey, the devil's trifecta. And in exchange for this extremely expensive, inefficient healthcare system, what do we get? Well, we get some of the worst health outcomes in the developed world. We have fewer hospital beds per capita than people in Turkey or Brunei. Americans have a lower life expectancy than people in Lebanon or Cuba.
Oh.
And in the Mississippi Delta and much of Appalachia, life expectancy is lower than in Bangladesh. In fact, in 2017, the United Nations sent a commissioner to West Virginia to document what he saw, and he described, quote, third world conditions of absolute poverty, unquote. We even have a higher infant mortality rate than people in Russia and Serbia. In every single metric, America does worse across the board. So why is healthcare so expensive? Because it's so complicated. You have to look for in-network physicians, schedule an established care appointment, beg for coverage from your insurance company that couldn't care less about you, and that's if you're lucky enough to have good insurance. Compare that to Britain and all of those other evil, socialist-like countries where it's simple. Public hospitals provide free treatment to people who need it. That's it. I'll repeat that. Public hospitals provide free treatment to people who need it.
That's what's so special about the NHS. You don't have to have insurance. Granted, you can have private healthcare if you can afford it and you may want quicker service or whatnot. But our NHS, they work their asses off and do a great job 99% of the time. Yes, you sometimes have to wait a little bit longer because of the issues that we have with the NHS basically bleeding money and wasting it. But it is free to everyone. Now, I could be earning £100,000 a year and I will obviously pay more taxes and I get free healthcare. But you could be earning £10,000 a year and you will get exactly the same service as someone that is earning £100,000 a year. It's not on how much you earn. It is a fair system that everyone is treated equally. That is how it should be in a fair society. The rich people should be looking after the poorer people, and I'm not talking necessarily about the people that are scrounging off the government, because I appreciate those people are the bane of people's lives, the bane of the government's lives, people that are wasting, not wanting to work, not wanting to contribute. That's a tricky subject, but it's fair for all.
And here's the best part. Even though Britain offers healthcare for free, their system is actually a lot cheaper to run than ours. Per capita healthcare spending in the US is almost 3 times what it is in Britain, and almost 5 times what Canadians spend. In fact, Americans spend the most per person of any country in the world for healthcare. But the free market is more efficient, you screech.
No.
But in America, private systems often aren't efficient at all.
Charge what they like.
Private drug companies have an incentive to charge whatever they can get away with for pharmaceuticals. In Canada, a carton of insulin costs about $20. In the US, it costs $300.
Sorry to keep stopping, but the American health system is very similar to our veterinary system. You're relying on insurance to pay for what the hospitals want to charge. Very similar to our vets, and it's disgusting. It will cost so much to diagnose. When our boy Joey passed away, it cost us about $4,000 just to find out he had cancer, our cat. and we didn't have anything left on insurance to cover any sort of helping him. Maybe if it was the right thing to do to give him treatment to get rid of the cancer. We had no money left because these vets and the American health system over there, the hospitals can charge whatever they want because they know that you're relying on the insurance paying for it. That's basically what it is. That's wrong. It should be about making it affordable for people to have healthy lives and not, well.
And with private insurance companies footing the bill, hospitals have an incentive to get as much money out of patients as possible too. In 2015, the average cost of an MRI scan in the US was $1,119, but it was only $215 in Australia. Spain, about $181. And our healthcare system is so inefficient that we spend over a third of our cost on administration. The United States spends significantly more on administration than we spend on preventative or long-term healthcare. That's just not smart. Okay, we get it. We all know that American healthcare is so much more expensive, you say, but that's the cost of having the freest freedom in God's favorite country. Well, guess what? Medical procedures that are totally free in Britain, like giving birth, cost tens of thousands of dollars in the United States.
Mad!
I mean, you want to talk about the cost of freedom. Sadly, because of these high costs, Americans often avoid going to the doctor, something almost half the population say they do. With shoddy or non-existent health insurance, Americans will wait until their conditions force them into the emergency room where treatment is far more expensive. Again, not a smart system. Quite often, they end up putting off medical visits and dying. Susan Finley, a 53-year-old Walmart employee in Colorado, got pneumonia and took one day off of work beyond what Walmart's policy allows. So of course, Walmart's gonna Walmart, which they did by firing her. Without her job, she lost her nominal health care coverage, she struggled to find new work, and after avoiding a visit to the doctor for flu-like symptoms, she was found dead in her apartment. When Americans do manage to get treated, they frequently can't afford it. Simple, life-saving treatments can cost tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars, and if they don't have really good insurance, they're forced to take on medical debt. Tens of millions of Americans owe medical debt, often into the tens of thousands of dollars. Meanwhile, in a country like Britain or Norway, medical debt is almost unheard of. But hey, that's why GoFundMe is such a critical component of American healthcare. 1 in 3 GoFundMe campaigns is now for medical bills. I'll repeat that. 1 in 3 GoFundMe campaigns is now for medical bills. America is such a strong, powerful, rich, and great country that its citizens have to beg strangers on the internet for money so they can get life-saving treatments that are free in the rest of the developed world. But hey, that's just healthcare. Americans get terrible deals wherever you look. Let's take work, for example. Americans work longer hours than people in any other rich country in the world, and that's not because they enjoy sleep deprivation and not seeing their families for days at a time. It's because they don't want to starve, or freeze, or die. See, America has the least generous job support programs, the least generous family benefits, and the least generous unemployment benefits of any wealthy country. It's one of the only countries on Earth that doesn't guarantee paid time off for vacations. It doesn't even help provide paid time off for parents who just had a child. And it's not coincidental that we're also one of the most hostile countries to workers' rights. America has one of the lowest unionization rates in the entire world. Maybe this deprivation, our refusal to give people the means to lead a good, dignified life commensurate with how rich our country is, can explain a bit of what we've seen in the United States over the last few decades. Fraying communities, rising rates of depression and suicide, huge numbers of deaths from drug overdoses. These so-called deaths of despair, suicide, drug overdoses, alcoholic liver disease, they're one big reason why American life expectancy has actually started to decline over the last few years. And with such poor conditions, it's not a surprise that poverty is so rampant in the United States. America devotes a smaller percentage of spending on social welfare than any other industrialized economy because, say it with me, socialism is evil.
This is the frustrating thing. And we get the same sort of rhetoric over here. Socialism is bad. Well, the socialism gave us the NHS, for Christ's sake. It's not about... See, what's frustrating is people associate socialism and communism or Marxism, and it's not the same. It is not the same. And I wish people would stop throwing around words that are entwined, or they think are entwined, when they're really not. Socialism is just about looking after people. It's not saying you can't get wealthy. If you work hard and you earn money, amazing. That's what socialism wants. Socialism wants rich people. People don't understand that. Socialism wants rich people because rich people put more back into society and help lower people. We understand that, there's got to be people at the top. It's that pyramid. Socialism is not evil.
It's evil. Go to Denmark and try telling those happy, healthy families enjoying their paid vacation that their system of government is evil. Guess what? I guarantee they'll know you're an American. But I digress. America also has the highest rate of child poverty of any developed country, and the highest percentage of workers earning significantly less than the national median income. That seems pretty evil to me, especially since such a tiny fraction take as much of your money for themselves and their families as you will let them. All the while, both parties smile and shake hands. Across every single metric, no people accept a worse deal than Americans today. High taxes, high cost of living for next to nothing in return from the government. The most expensive healthcare system for the worst health outcomes. More money taken from workers for the highest rate of child poverty. We are the richest country in the history of the world, but we have fewer miles of high-speed rail than Uzbekistan.
What?
We are the greatest country in the world, yet we have the most people in prison of any country, and the highest incarceration rate as well, and a higher rate of police killings than in Angola and Sudan. America is bad at everything because instead of choosing to make life better for people through a public healthcare system or more generous childcare policies or better public transit or programs that allow people to spend more time with their families, American law is designed and crafted to protect a class of parasitical middleman industries. Instead of using a proportionally tiny piece of the massive amount of the wealth in this country to make people's lives healthier and happier, most of our elected leaders are, and have been for generations, engaged in a massive project of looting, gently and lovingly guiding as much money as possible from working people into the pockets of the well-connected and the ultra-rich. Think about that as we start hearing about the inevitable rise in homelessness, poverty, starvation, and sickness that will occur during these coming months and years in the greatest, strongest, richest, most powerful country on the face of the earth. I'm David Cross for the Gravel Institute.
I like him. He's from Arrested Development. In one episode, he dressed as one of the old blue men. Anyway, it's sickening. It's sickening. I'm not speaking as an outsider, that I'm listening to someone on the inside. It's look, in the UK, we mostly get a Tory government because of the working class people that are nationalists, and we get the middle and upper class that may vote for Tories and they don't care. They don't care. That's the thing. We need people in charge to actually care about people. Care about people, care about your fellow countrymen. How much can you do with so much money? What do you need so much money for? Help people. Help people have a better life. If people have better lives, then they contribute more to the country. If people are able to work and live well, they're paying their taxes, they buy things which have taxes on. Support people to do that. It's just wrong. And it didn't even get into gun crime, for Christ's sake. The whole world knows about the United States gun crime problem, where young people go blowing kids' heads off. They didn't even speak about that. And so that's another thing. It's so frustrating to, you know, watching American shows and seeing the news every other week. It's a shooting. You know, you hear about people, as I said, that are scared to call an ambulance because of the cost of it. That's wrong. That's wrong. And as I said, I'm from the UK and I know there's things that we could do better. And for starters, we need to get the Tories out to change that. But this is on another level. This is on another level. Now, if you're from the United States, let me know your thoughts on this. If you're not from the United States, also let me your thoughts. Basically, everyone, let me know your thoughts. But maybe you need to have, you need to unionize. Like what's happening at the moment with lots of people going on strike because they need to earn more money because of the inflation rates at the moment. Maybe people in the United States need to unionize, create unions, demand better. Because it doesn't matter who's in charge, it seems, in the United States. The country is run by big businesses. So it doesn't really matter who's in charge because they do as they're told. An interesting one. Thank you so much for watching. It's really actually quite depressing. And I'm sort of glad I do not live in the United States. I really am. And it gives me no reason to want to come either. Which is a shame. But thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.